Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden, and this homely looking guy next to me, that's Tim. And this is The Second Legacy, and thank you for stopping by. Today, we have got so much good stuff to talk about. We have got the gun controllers doing the work for us at the NRA, which I know Tim's going to love that segment. Then we've got the new yellow flag amber alert system magical solution. And then we have a goofy gun grabbers, which they've seen the light. Beautiful people. You're going to love every second of this, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think in the comments field below. And, of course, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. And with that, Tim, how are you?
Doing good, man.
Homely looking.
Just, plugging along, trying to get past that holiday hump, man. You know how that goes?
Oh, I do.
You get so used to it being Christmas and New Year's, and you're like, oh, this is nice, a little bit of a break, and then boom, right back into it. Yeah. You're still trying to recover.
Yeah. Trying to start the engine again?
Yeah. But
No, I get that.
With the starter, though. Not from the tailpipe.
You were about to say it, though. No. You were about to say it, weren't you? You were about to say suck starter Chevy, weren't you?
Nope.
Man. So good. So good. Well, with that, Tim, I think we owe it to the beautiful people of Second Legacy to dive right in here, because they're chomping at the bit, because I get to do a really fun part of my life. I get to mention the word NRA in a sentence to you and see what happens. So, because you've had qualms. There've been things.
Just a few, being escorted out of the NRA convention because they were worried about what I was going to say and do. Yeah, we have history.
A little bit, but it's okay. Just like a rocky love story, I'm sure it'll end well in the end, because New York is doing the work for us, Tim. This one you're going to love. This is number one, Dr. Button Pusher. LaPierre, longtime NRA leader, faces trial that could end his reign. Well, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Are they going to do the work for us, Tim?
Well, something needs to end his reign. Look, there's the whole big story I don't want to get into, but, for the longest time, the NRA stayed in New York State, and they were unfriendly to them for the longest time. And everybody saw the writing on the wall. The New York State was doing everything they could to go after the NRA, but they stayed there. And
absolutely.
And it took lawsuits being filed before they finally uprooted and moved, I think, to Texas. But yet,
Texas, yeah.
But Wayne still faces charges and stuff in New York. So it's, I don't know. Maybe he thinks he's untouchable. I don't know. And I don't even know what the validity of these charges are, to be honest with you.
Oh, no, I know. But let's do a little backstory for the people on the other side, right? You've had your stuff. We know the NRA on our side. That's obviously an issue at the top. Well, here's what the gun controllers are saying. This is number two, Doctor. Samuel Schwartz has told us the NRA is broken and young people will defeat them at the polls in 2024. And, of course, on the other side of that, you have the NRA is at rock bottom, and 15 years of tax filings tell the story. Now, the entire organization is dead, Tim. So, therefore, obviously, gun rights are dead. No one cares about gun rights anymore because the NRA is in trouble. I mean, obviously, from the left, that's the narrative. There's only one tiny problem with that, Tim. Only one little smidgen.
Yeah.
A small one. One that's not at all what it is. It just, the energy just shifts into other organizations, which we've covered, but they can't figure that out because they're blinded by hatred. No big deal there. But it turns out that even Letitia James is going to do the work for us, because you guys know that LaPierre and the executive board, the people at the top of the NRA, are the ones that everyone has a problem with. It's not the NRA. It's not the Second Amendment. It's not the people under him. Would you agree with that assessment? It's definitely the people at the top?
100% the leadership of the organization.
Okay.
If it were under new leadership and they had actual gun right advocates leading the organization, I'd be behind the NRA 100%.
Gotcha. So, I mean, like, we're in agreement there.
Yeah.
Because it's coming from the top.
And what's funny is these little orange square pet lovers that post all this nonsense, they sorry. Beep, did I say that? Oh, I was thinking that. I didn't know.
Coffee just almost went everywhere on that one.
I'm pretty sure that's what the orange square means. But they constantly want to claim that somehow they defeated the NRA, that through their action, these gun right groups have brought the NRA to heel, that they're bringing them down. It's like, no, dummies. I've done interviews on NPR and other sources, and so have other people. It is quite clear that we, the former NRA members, are the ones that have brought them down because of Wayne's,
correct.
I won't even call it lackluster leadership, corrupt leadership.
No,
him out there buying $40,000 suits and making deals with gun grabbers behind the scenes. All this stuff the NRA has historically done, including making Reagan sign the '86 machine gun ban, promising him they would challenge it in court, which they never did. They have lied to us. They have screwed over gun owners for decades, and we finally got a belly full after the whole Las Vegas thing, and we all left en masse and people like myself were quite public about going after the NRA and exposing their hypocrisy and their wrongdoing, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is what brought the NRA down, and that is what brought GOA, FPC, SAF up. And GOA outspent NRA last year in lobbying efforts.
Right.
So
because
money
it
shifted.
Exactly. It shifted. It did not die. Now, here's the part where they're going to do the work for us, and this is what, because there's a lot of backstory here. There was basically like an attempt to remove Wayne LaPierre. He maintained the seas of the controls and reins of power, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, not important. But basically, the bottom line is Wayne LaPierre was never ousted, okay? Well, it turns out that the gun controllers might do it for us. Look at number 5, Tim. This is the funny part. Miss James, who is Letitia James, the AG of New York, seeks to use her regulatory authority over nonprofit groups to impose a range of financial penalties against the defendants and to remove Mr. LaPierre. Any money recovered would flow back to the NRA. Wait a minute. So, Tim, if we're reading this properly, and I think I give us credit that we can read, that means that we get rid of the guy that we want to get rid of, and the money goes back to the NRA?
Well, that sounds like a win-win. Yeah.
tell me more. Thank you, Letitia James. I think.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that's not like the reporter misspeaking or something, because that sounds like a win-win to me.
No, that sounds like we've got a little bit of a sneaky two-way supporter in Letitia James, which we know is not the case, but. I love a good backfire, but just another piece of the puzzle here. This is number 6, Doctor. Miss James originally sought to shut the NRA down entirely, as one of her predecessors succeeded in doing with the Trump Foundation. That step was rejected in 2022. So, Tim, hold on a second. They tried to kill the NRA. They said they couldn't kill the NRA. So in her attempt to kill the NRA and get some sort of win, she's going to keep the NRA in place. It gets to maintain its status as an organization. You get to remove the corrupt executive head, of which we want to get rid of as well, and the money you recover goes back to the NRA?
Thank you.
Thanks. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Am I being punked?
Here's what's crazy. So let's play this out, right? So Wayne gets removed from power. The board gets replaced. They get actual activists in the organization. They start to do the right thing, and money resumes flowing to the NRA. Wouldn't that be funny to witness?
Well, but they that's where it would go.
Yeah, I know.
Yes,
be awesome.
That's exactly where it would go. So, like, you just nailed the big irony here is this woman was on well, I can't say that. She was on a holy quest. Let's not get in trouble. She was on a holy quest to get rid of the NRA. It turned out she can't get rid of the NRA. We've been trying to get rid of the executive head and the executive board of the NRA for years. Can't do it. She comes in, gets rid of the executive board, and then funds the NRA, which, to the chagrin of the gun controllers, would only help them. And then maybe the problem goes away and the NRA grows again.
Yeah.
Bro,
wow.
This might go down as the biggest backfire ever.
I mean, these leftists are dumb as a bag of rocks to begin with, but geez, I mean, let's just sit back and watch this happen. Like we've said many times before, when your enemy's making a mistake, just let them make it.
That's true. That's true.
She's so blinded by her hatred. It's epic.
That's the point. They're so blinded by their hatred, they undermine their own points, and that actually shows up again in Gun Grabbers later on. But you know what I like about you, Tim? Personal moment of positive feedback. You're so subtle.
The beard. Oh,
it's hard to really know where your feelings are on some things, and that's what I like about you. You're just a delicate flower of delivery. That's what you are.
I know. Well, I'm from a different age and different generation. We were brought up to speak straight. Speak truthfully. Speak what's on your mind. Don't candy coat things and beat around the bush and hope people figure out what you're trying to get at. Just tell them what you're thinking.
That's true. It's a simpler time, Tim.
It's
a simpler time.
Yeah.
The time that I was born in, I tell you, it's a different thing. It's all about. That's a different story. I can't even go down that road, but it doesn't matter. That would be the best backfire ever. But I appreciate you from your time and tenure.
Thank you,
I just want to tell you that. Yeah. So now we go to the moment, Tim. This is the middle of the segment. And the middle of the segment is where we pack that funny goodness a lot of the time. We can get sarcastic, we can get funny, but it turns out, Tim, that we have a new idea from the gun rights side of the debate coming out of Maine. What would you do, Tim, if I told you the new hotness was a yellow flag Amber Alert system that would give text messages to everybody when something was going wrong around yellow and red flags? And that's the gun defense side of the argument.
So this is a self-proclaimed pro-gun politician saying that his pro-gun idea is yellow and red flag laws coupled with, well, if something happens and they're looking for somebody that's covered under one of these yellow or red flag laws, they're just going to text message everybody with pictures of this person saying, help us find this man and don't sell him a gun and don't do this. Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thanks, Doc.
You know, Tim, I was concerned that it was going to be a very complicated explanation, but it seems like you've got the gist. Yeah. When I dove into this and I said no, they aren't really. They are okay. They are. So this is actually an attempt to avoid red flag laws in Maine, to keep yellow flag laws in Maine. And so as an attempt to actually look like you're doing something, but you're not losing to red flag laws, this is what they proposed. And I'm going to walk you through the whole thing here. I think there's a lot of things that we can make fun of here, but there's also a lot of things we really got to talk about, because this is pretty bad. This is not cute, as they say on the streets.
The mean streets.
It's just so bad. The mean streets. Oh, the mean streets of Maine. Yeah. Let's get into number 8. Because these Mainers. All right. Lawmakers. Advocates.
Don't they have historically low crime to begin with? But anyway.
Oh, like astronomically low.
Yeah.
Like it almost doesn't exist. Yeah. It's almost like there was a outside force that descended upon Maine and they want to push certain things, which might sound familiar in a second. So lawmakers, advocates prepare for gun debate as they return to the legislatures. Okay, that's happening today, by the way. Members of both major parties plan to introduce gun safety reform and spoke of common ground 2 months after Maine's worst mass shooting. So there's a couple of things that I want to really hit here, Tim. First one, this is number 10. This really chaps my butt. I'm going to be honest. Representative Vicky Dodaro, Democrat, of course, founded the Gun Safety Caucus and remained its co-chair Tuesday when she met with News Center Maine over Zoom. She believed common ground could be found on policy positions like red flag laws, universal background checks, and a waiting period to buy a gun. Tim, do you find it fascinating that they always want to find common ground only on their ideas?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's no different than when they talk about the Supreme Court being out of balance. What that means is they don't have the majority. Balance to them is having the majority. That's balance in the leftist mind virus world. And so, yeah, when they say that and this goes back to an argument I've made for decades. They say, well, we just need to find common ground. We need to compromise was the word. Now they're saying common ground.
Correct.
They're replacing the word compromise with common ground. And what does compromise mean? Well, they can't use that anymore because we've successfully pointed out for decades that a compromise implies that both sides get something of equal value, right? You want your red flag laws? Great. Then we undo the 1986 machine gun ban. That would be a negotiation, right? Both sides get something. I'm not saying I would agree to that.
Weird.
What I'm saying is,
No, it's a hypothetical.
Right. I'm just saying you give, you get. But what the gun grabbers want is to get and not to give. So there is no compromise. There isn't common ground. Their idea of common ground is give me all your guns and shut up and sit down and pay your taxes. That's their idea of common ground. Just like their idea of balancing the court is making sure that they have a 3 or 4 seat majority by packing the court. Because right now it's unbalanced because they're not getting the decisions they want. They're lunatics. Anyway.
No, hold on.
Disingenuous lunatics. Disingenuous. I'm sorry.
We had questions in the audience. I could almost hear them wondering how you really felt. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Let's find common ground on exactly what I want. Okay, well, hey, here's a hypothetical, and I said this in my video on when I covered this. The Second Amendment shall not be infringed. We can find common ground on that. So, we're just going to get rid of machine gun bans. We're going to get rid of ghost gun bans. We're going to get rid of yellow flag laws. But we're going to find common ground around those 3 main areas.
It's just the same old
it doesn't
shtick,
seem
different day.
It's kind of weird, right? And also, I love how they automatically came out with the just so happened, Tim. I'm sure coincidences abound in the gun control world. I'm sure that the exact same policy positions that Every Town for Gun Safety, Moms Man Action, Giffords.org, and March for Our Lives all three that they pushed consistently over the past several years showed up here. Just happens to be in Maine, ready for the open legislature. I tell you, coincidences abound. They do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like we not pointed this out in the past.
Yeah.
These goofballs.
Yeah, but we got to do it a lot, Tim.
Yeah.
But we got to do it a lot.
We do. Move in unison, move in lockstep. They're goose-stepping their ways to work tomorrow. Yeah.
You know, I don't agree with them politically, but their organizational zest, it is a thing.
Yeah. I mean,
so now
they're good at rallying their troops and getting everybody moving in the same direction. The direction
they're
towards
very good at that.
Abolishing freedom, shredding the Constitution. Right. They're marching in the wrong direction, but hey, they're in lockstep. Bless their nasty
they're in lockstep.
Souls. Yeah.
They get organizational credit. They do. So here we go, Tim. This is here just when I thought we were really concerned about Maine in this opening legislature session. Here comes the stalwart defender of gun rights. Check this out. This is number 11. Representative John Andrews, a Republican from Paris, said his party's first priority with regard to firearms would be protecting the state and federal rights of gun owners. Oh, okay. Well, that's a good start. But
there's always that
but. There's always a but. He planned to introduce a bill in the coming session he believed would save lives and protect licensed gun sellers at the same time through his so-called yellow alert system. And here's what it is. The painted picture here is beautiful. Quote, if someone does something to trigger a statewide alert, FFLs, or gun dealers, would get a text and a photo, kind of like an Amber Alert. It would say, do not sell to this person, and they are either wanted by police or are in crisis. Tim, I can't see anything going wrong with an idea like this.
Okay, look.
This is
What
so
what bill of goods were we sold during the Clinton administration? It was called the NICS system. And then a few years ago, we fixed NICS, right? We made it even more restrictive.
What bill of goods?
Adding more restrictions and demanding reporting from all the different state agencies and stuff like that into this NICS system when they fixed it. And so what does the NICS system do? Well, when you go to a gun dealer, if you're wanted for a crime, an actual crime, like you're really wanted for something you've done wrong because you've gone through the process of going to court and being convicted of doing wrong, then you will get denied a gun purchase by the federal government through the NICS system. So what he's proposing here is, well, you know, there's not really a crime. We just got this yellow flag law. We think there might be a problem here. So we're just going to go ahead and send out this alert and tell FFLs they can't sell to this person. Under what federal law do you think you can do that? And they're saving, they're saving FFLs. What are you saving an FFL from? They already have the NICS system. What do you mean you're saving the FFLs? You're from what? You plan on suing the FFLs for doing business? It's just... But the whole thing about red flag laws and yellow flag laws is that by their very nature, they circumvent our constitutional rights.
Oh,
basically, what this means is I can make an accusation against you, Braden, that I think you're violent. I'm saying you threatened me last night on the phone, even though I can't really prove it, but I can prove that we were texting with each other, and therefore I'm going to stand steadfast in saying that you were threatening me and you shouldn't have a gun, and then with that allegation only, they'll go to your house, take your property away from you, and then they hold on to it until they can try you for a crime. Or eventually...
And you prove you're innocent.
Yeah, until you're guilty now, until you go to the court and prove yourself innocent. I believe there's something in the Constitution about that too. And then you might get your stuff back, but in many cases, you have to sue to get your stuff back. What if you're not... what if you don't have the money to do that? And what is this nonsense of taking people's property away from them? I think there's something called the Fifth Amendment that says you can't do that.
It is. There is. That's
anyway,
true.
God, these people suck.
Now
and this is a guy on our side, presumably.
Yeah. Hey, this is the moment where we go back to our gun grabbers yesterday, where there's the door and you're coming through the door and we're all waiting there.
Right.
That was the moment,
24
right there.
And we're all stacked up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just Tim rant and like we're ready. So I have to get this in. I have to circle back to something that you said because I couldn't get it in quick enough.
I'm not going to touch that one.
Don't. I know. Don't. Just, it's a problem. So when you said, what's the bill of goods we were sold for Bill
I'm just
Clinton?
not going to go into a rabbit hole, down a rabbit hole with you on this.
Thanks,
Doc. Pour a little salt in that wound.
So,
okay, go ahead.
Just get it in there, yeah. So, God, there it is again. When you said Bill... Damn it.
Come on, Braden, get it in
when
there.
When you said the Bill... I'm sorry. Stop it. When Bill Clinton, you were like a bill of goods, I wanted to be like, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, yeah. But you said it too. You got too excited. I was so amped. I was so excited to do it, and then you made me wait for that whole Tim rant to deliver it, and it lost its punch. And I'm really sad.
Well, it was funny in its own way. It was the
at
journey
moment,
there that was
it
so
was really-
humorous.
It was the journey, and then I flubbed it up real bad at the end, but that's okay. I hope you guys forgive me because I thought that was funny in my head. Anyway, I think we put a pin in that.
Yeah.
So yellow flag, Amber Alert system, bad.
Yes.
Do we put a thumbtack in that one and move on to Goofy Gun
Let's
Grabbers?
move on
Go
over to
pretty
Goofy
comfortable?
Gun Grabbers. Because once again, we've lucked out here, and at least one of our Goofy Gun Grabbers will dovetail nicely into today's conversation.
Yeah.
All right, so number 15, Doc. Here we go. This is from a guy named Alan Franklin. Oh, look at that. He has a Ukrainian flag. Well, we need to make a little chart
Yeah.
of leftist lunacy and what each of these little icons that they insist on putting in their names actually means
I
with
don't-
regards to leftist lunacy. All right. So anyway,
I don't think we could do that simply because all the bleeps required for it. I think we just got to assume, just point out to the fact that it's obviously there and we know it.
yeah. All right, so old Alan was responding to a CBS Colorado news report on X talking about gun owners and groups sue Colorado governor over the homemade ghost gun law, right? So basically, states are trying to pass laws that would ban the private manufacturing of firearms, something American citizens have been able to do since our founding. It's never been a problem, but yet that's just one more thing. They look for low-hanging fruit. They think that they can convince the general public it's a bad thing and we can just take this one thing away. It's that incrementalism I've talked about many times. They'll go for that low-hanging fruit, working their way towards a complete ban. So Alan chimed in with this news report saying, and he thought he was being witty here, I think, if you're against the ban on ghost guns, you in essence believe there should be no background check on gun purchases whatsoever. You believe you should be able to pick up a gun at an Ace Hardware next to the hammers. It would be nice for our MGO. I don't even know what that means. Just to admit this.
Rocky Mountain gun owners.
Oh, okay. Rocky Mountain gun owners. It'd be nice if they admit that. And then if you take a look at my comment down below, it says, finally, one of these goons figures it out. Yes!
Yeah.
We do want... Because just before... I mean, it didn't happen in my
it used to
time,
be.
right? I'm not that old. But the generation before
are old,
me,
though.
my mother could walk into, or father could walk into an Ace Hardware and literally buy a gun. They could get in the Sears catalog and order a gun and have it delivered to their doorstep. And guess what we didn't have news stories about back then? Wild mass shootings and we're all gonna die. It was just normal. So yeah, that is what we want there, Alan. You got it.
You nailed it.
You kind of backed in. You started off in the stupid and you backed into some a hint of intelligence, but I still don't think he figured out that he backed into something inadvertently there and got something right.
Right. But that's the funny part about that is, well, two things. One, the reason that he said RMGO here and he referenced Rocky Mountain Gun Owners because they're the ones that did the lawsuit.
Yeah, and it's a Colorado
on January
CBS
1st
story.
when it was,
right.
Yeah, when it was implemented on the 1st. But the other thing here is, this is just to give you guys some perspective. Some of you watching this would already know this. Some of you have experienced it. Some of you heard about it. They used to sell like the most valuable handguns, or not even handguns, most valuable revolvers on the market today. Like Colt Pythons are pretty high up there. They used to sell those next to the hammers.
Oh yeah.
At Ace Hardwares. They used to do that in all hardware shops. You could go down to a hardware store and you would get your nails, your hammers, your pipe tape, and then literally you could buy a gun right there.
And ammunition.
Or, to Tim's point, and ammo, right? With none of the things that we have now. And you could also have them shipped to your door with no FFL at all. They were literally shipped to your door through things that were sponsored by the government, like the Civilian Marksman Program.
Yep.
Like all the surplus from all the wars that we had, you could order it through the Sears catalog. It would come by railway and deliver directly to your door. I actually have a carbine from World War II that my grandfather bought in that manner.
Yeah, and you want to hear something even funnier? Is that companies would send you the gun to your house through the USPS, and then you would pay the postman at the time of delivery, so you didn't have to pay up front. You could literally pay the postman when they dropped the package off. You could pay for your gun.
COD, baby.
And
COD.
Yep. And I mean, that's how far this went back in the day. And then this guy's over here hand-wringing about the idea of you can make your own gun. You poor little thing.
Well, I think it's from a lack of knowledge, and it's a lack of even fathoming anything beyond complete and utter control. Like, I think what this guy is exhibiting is the exact reason that slow frog analogy exists. He doesn't even know where we came from.
Yeah.
to the point where we are now,
Right.
and he still wants to go further so that in 20 years from now, the idea that people would make their own guns would be unconscionable to the population.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
absolutely.
They're incrementally moving you away from this. The founding of our nation, before any of the things that we just mentioned in the Ace Hardwares, a rifle was invented in Kentucky because German immigrants made their own guns, and they rifled the inside of the barrel, and it was all of a sudden a better piece of technology, and that's how the West was won. That's how the entire nation was founded, was because rifling existed. It's just the lack of experience and knowledge is really annoying.
Ever heard of the phrase sharpshooter? Where do you think that comes from?
I have.
That is an American phrase coming from American riflemen that used Sharps rifles. Rifles.
The Sharps, right? I think the actual company was a Sharps.
Yep.
It was a knife, right? Very sharp.
It was a sharp. It was a hypodermic needle. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, Americans have a long storied tradition of not just manufacturing their own firearms, but owning firearms, carrying firearms, having firearms. It was how our nation was founded. It is how we've the fact that American soldiers, Marines and soldiers, are known the world over for our marksmanship capabilities.
Yeah.
Do you think we're born with that capability? No, we grow up in that. America has for generations made war fighters that had the ability to accurately fire their weapons, and that came from their own use of those firearms as a kid growing up, hunting and target shooting and things like that. Our own government has even encouraged this in the past through the civilian marksmanship program, where you could go and the government would train you for free on marksmanship, and at the end, you would get an M1 Garand, a weapon we used during World War II in Korea. And now these idiots come along and pretend like none of that ever happened, and like, oh my gosh, you can make your own. We got to stop this. This is lunacy. They're nut jobs. They don't even know our own history, to your point.
They don't know our history. I think, Tim, this is just us planning the show actually in real time. I think you've mentioned it, we should do some episodes around this type of stuff because I think that's extremely valuable to spread. But to your point, the reason that we are renowned, the reason the Marines are known as devil dogs, is because they were picking Germans off in World War I in the Battle of Belleau Wood from 300 yards when the modern engagement at the time was around 75 to 100.
Yep.
I mean, and that's not because we were all of a sudden these magical ballisticians. It was because we had a history of feeding our families and growing up with the Second Amendment so that we could be more effective in defending freedom for ourselves or others. Take it however you want it, whether it was a good idea or not. I'm not saying that. I do find it interesting, though, that Woodrow Wilson and FDR, both Democratic progressives, led us into World War I and II. We're going to leave that one alone. But the whole point here is there's a reason that it exists.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I felt that was like a Braden rant. Was that
was
close?
Good, man.
Was that a Braden
I think we got a Braden rant in.
That's good.
Just
That's
before
good.
number
Well, let's
16.
go to the next one.
Yes, Doc.
Yeah.
Throw up number 16 for us. And this is from our friends over at 97% over on X, another gun grabbing group that pretends they're not really a gun grabbing group. No, folks, they're just there for public safety. They want you to keep your guns. They love the Second Amendment, but they just think it should be heavily regulated per their own words. So what did old 97% have to say? Well, we believe in the right to bear arms. Oh, yeah, of course. Just, Marxists never lie to you. We also believe in common sense gun regulation. Let's translate that. What does common sense gun regulation mean to you, Braden? What ideas, what have they proposed as common sense gun regulations in the past? They being the anti-gunners.
Well, let's see. Common sense has always seemed to align directly, and correct me if I'm wrong, seemed to align directly with the gun control side of the aisle. Like for things like the NICS background check system, we had the 1986 machine gun ban, we had the Gun Control Act, we had the 1934 NFA. All of these things were common sense.
The 94 assault weapons ban.
Oh my
ban?
goodness, I forgot about that one. I forgot about that one.
Ban?
Common
They
sense.
always try to back away from the B word now. They won't use it anymore.
Well, now it's common sense.
Now it's the assault weapon safety proposal, right?
Yeah.
It's not. We're
But
not
I do-
banning them. We just want them to be safe,
Yeah.
right? So anyway,
It's common sense.
Right, it's just all common sense. And then to continue on, from violent misdemeanor
Yeah.
laws to red flag laws, we can save lives without infringing on constitutional rights. Inaction is not a solution. So let's look at that last sentence, shall we? Red flag laws will save lives without infringing on constitutional rights. Now, I'm guessing they're talking about the Second Amendment, But there's one other constitutional right they seem to be overlooking, that they always overlook when they have this conversation about yellow and red flag laws. Doc, if you could throw up number 17. Let's do a little civics lessons here, shall we, folks? The Fifth Amendment to the United States Constitution. I'm going to get right to the yellow part, and because this is relevant to the discussion. Nor shall be compelled, talking about Americans, you shall not be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against yourself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. What is due process? You're accused of a crime, but assumed innocent of said crime. You go to court. Then a jury of your peers will decide your guilt or innocence. If you're decided to be guilty, then you are a convicted criminal, and then they can take away your property. They cannot take away your property constitutionally without said process.
Particularly ones that are Second Amendment related.
Well, yeah, you got the Second and Fifth working here that they're going against.
Well, no, of course. But I'm saying the Fifth protects what they're doing to the Second. And it's like you're violating two amendments of the Bill of Rights. You're not doing it right. And the thing that bothers me about this, and like, dude, we've talked about this a couple times. I've done it on my channel. You've talked about it. The idea of a red flag law is one of the most concerning things that they push, because it's one of the things that undermines so many pieces of our constitutional protections in one blow. Like, you could argue from a standpoint of the mandatory waiting periods. Okay, well, that's Second Amendment related. That is still bad. However, it's only living in the Second Amendment space, because you're saying, well, you're going to have your rights still, but there's a waiting period determined by the state. Do you get a license? Do you have a background check? All these pieces which are unconstitutional, but it lives within that Second Amendment framework. The red flag laws and the yellow flag laws, they go past due process. They go past the Second Amendment rights. They go through so many different amendments, and they're just running roughshod under the idea and guise of providing safety. It is really concerning that people are just like, oh, well, that makes so much sense. The government will provide that safety. And it's like, do you guys remember anything from history?
No.
Like, anything?
But this is why they're destroying our schools. This is why they don't teach, like, civics. This is why they don't tell people about their rights and talk about American history. They try to strip all that out of the teachings so that they can propagandize our children to the end of they will believe this nonsense. That, oh, yeah, it's just common sense. Oh, this isn't an infringement on anybody's rights. This is just common sense. Because they don't have any reference. They're not educated. They're purposely dumbed down, and they'll buy into this nonsense and just go, oh, okay, well, here you go. You can have my rights. I don't need them.
Right. No, it really is sad. And, you know, one of the things that I think it's an important thing, and we're doing so many projects behind the scenes, and the Second Amendment space is growing so amazingly well. But one of the things that I think is so important to understand is not only that history piece, but also understand what these people are doing. Take it outside of the Second Amendment, take it outside of the due process, the red flag, all those concerns, which are obviously huge concerns. Look at what they're doing on a very base level. Let's just look at the 1934 NFA. This is a really great example. They've told you, and we've covered on this channel multiple times, the entire point was to price you out of your rights. That was the whole point. Well,
and to slowly make them go away.
It'll be too expensive.
Yep.
Correct. It'll slowly make them go away. Let's just take suppressors, for example. That's a good example. That's part of the NFA. Suppressors have no impact on the deathly ability of firearms. They're literally only a suppression device. So what they did was they put something that is not a firearm, that is nothing to do with increasing firing capacity. It literally only addresses noise, and they put it behind a tax stamp, which means you have to pay more money. You can still have your rights. Your rights are perfectly fine. They're not infringed. They're perfectly protected, but only the people who are affluent can have them.
Yeah, you only have to pay for them.
These are the exact same people.
I mean, why don't we just do the same thing at the polls? Why don't we say, hey, you're welcome to vote. Just pay us a $200 tax. You can vote for whoever you want.
Exactly.
That's freedom, baby.
Exactly.
No, that's called Jim Crow era laws and poll taxes.
Right.
The Supreme Court has held you cannot tax a constitutionally protected right. The fact that we've allowed the NFA to continue on for this long is an affront to our liberty, and it's a statement to the lackluster performance of groups like the NRA, which is precisely why we hate them.
Which is why Letitia James is clearly going to get rid of the problem and then give the money back to them and then reinvigorate the NRA. I'm here for it, Tim.
Yeah.
That was a hell of an episode.
It was.
I mean, with Bill Clinton all the way to Letitia James. It went a lot of places, but we landed this plane.
Maybe she'll wind up on Epstein's list. Never mind. I didn't go there. Folks, thanks for watching Second Legacy. We'll talk to you guys soon.